Today, I'm gonna run you through some tips and tricks to make sure that you have a successful finish of your semester here in our class with coding, but also how to completely succeed in Project 2. So let's get started. Here, I would recommend that you have a folder just for your Project 2. In that folder, you can have a subfolder, and to create a subfolder on Mac or on PC, use the shortcut Control or Command Shift N. Then you create a new folder and you can start typing. And here I'm going to create a subfolder called Website. And another subfolder, sorry, I don't want it inside of there. I want another subfolder in Project 2 folder called called Design. So for the website, I'm going to put all of the correspondent files in that folder, and then in Design, here's where you can put your project's planning, so that your process book that can go here. And then this is what you're going to have to upload to OneDrive for when you're done with the project and when it's due on the 22nd. So here on the website, what you're going to have are 3 different files. You're going to have your style.css with this name, and your index.html with this name. And that's very important because that's the default, right? That's what the browser is looking for when you put a URL. It's looking for the index.html file in the folders where you have your website located and hosted. And then you're going to have a folder of images where you're going to put all the beautiful images that you're creating and using for your website. So here, now I'm going to give you some tips on Studio Visual Code. If you are on a Mac, this is a lot easier. You can just select what you need. I have Visual Studio Code here down on my bar, and all I'm going to do is drag and drop it onto Visual Studio Code, and it's going to open it automatically for me. It just opened on my other window here, so I'm going to bring it here. And another tip for all of you is that you can open these side by side. And one way to do it is to click on your style.css. I prefer to have that on the right as I find it easier. Just drag it. You see what happened? It clicked. It like blinks at you. And then when it does, you can just let it go. Okay. Another big tip is to check where your style sheet is linked. Here's just style.css, so I know that those are linked correctly. That's the name of it. The CSS isn't in any other folder. Remember, there is a full chapter on directory management in the John Duckett book, so I highly recommend that you look at that just so that you understand better what is the relationship between files and folders in web design and in development as a whole. And then here, you're going to see how I used even this div here, the ID container, can be removed. And always save your files, whatever editing you did, save it, Command or Control S. Okay, this is just going to save your file so that it's nice and updated. Command S. I don't want to see any of you go into File and Save. That takes too long. Get used to using the keyboard shortcuts. They're there to make your life easier. Your computer is a tool, just like a pen and a pencil. Hence, it's a little bit more complex than that, but you can make it work for you a lot faster if you get familiar with your keyboard and all that it can provide to you and making your life easier. So now I'm just gonna type a couple things here and we'll get to talking about it. And you can see here that all of the keyboard shortcuts I'm using are showing up on your screen, so pay attention to those. I downloaded an image to use here, so what I'm gonna do is I want to open it on my folder here, so I'm just dragging it. I'm gonna rename it, and here's how you rename things on a Mac. You just press return on your keyboard and you can start typing. So I'm just gonna do computer.jpg. On a PC, it is F2 key. So now I'm gonna put that in the images folder, right? Because it's an image. So I'm gonna add that to my code now. Okay, so I have a little bit of information going on my HTML, so let's open it. To open it, you can do a couple different things. If you watched Matt's video on how he developed a website from start to finish, you saw that he had you install a couple of extensions, or some extensions that he recommended. One of them is Live Server. So for you to open Live Server, you gotta first go to your Explorer here and open your folder. Open that. Sorry, you gotta click a folder. And then here where it says index.html, I'm gonna right click and do open with Live Server. And that's gonna open a window. So this server is gonna automatically update every time I make a change. If you don't have Live Server on, what you can do is the following. This is just, the image is really big, as you can see. We'll make it smaller, no worries. But if you don't have Live Server, it doesn't mean that you can't see your changes. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to your folder. I'm just gonna close this stuff here. Go to your folder where your website is and double click on your index. And there it is. Where is this coming from, I wonder? Oh, there it is. So I also use a lot of Command Tab on a Mac or Control Tab on a PC to go between the different things that I have on here. So on my computer right now, I have open Visual Studio Code, Safari, my Finder, QuickTime Player, because I'm recording this through QuickTime Player. I have my email open, and also KeyCaster, which is what is creating these animations on the top bottom left corner of the screen. So I go between Visual Studio Code and Safari. So whatever changes I made, so I deleted that, whatever this thing was over here, I deleted it, so I save it. And then for you to see you're updated, since it's not going to update automatically, you refresh. And to refresh your website in any browser, any computer, is Control R or Command R on a Mac. And it refreshes, and you can do that in any website. Okay, so I have my image, I have my section. I don't need an aside, so I'm going to delete that. And then for my footer, I'm just going to do a couple paragraphs and an H3 here for contact, and then a fake phone number and a fake address. Wrong one. And to move between the different tabs on your browser, so this is either on Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. On a Mac, it's on Control Tab. On PC, it's Alt Tab. And to go forward, you just do Control Tab, and to go backwards, Control Shift Tab. It's the world of keyboard shortcuts is beautiful, so I highly recommend that you get used to it. Okay, so I have added that little bit of information at the bottom. It's not showing up here, so I refreshed it. Here it is. I'm also going to add a subtitle on my section here. I'm going to do it as an H2, About Us. And then that should appear down here. And I usually put things in order on my HTML from left to right, top to bottom, like how we read pages in the Western world. So it's easier to code that way than going the other way, because how coding works is very similar to how we read here. So let's take a look at how I would develop this into a simple page. So another thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to actually delete these media queries. Remember last time I'm just using shift and arrow, but the KeyCaster is not recognizing it. So I'm deleting that because we're not going to create this as a mobile version, just the main one, just for PC. So I'm deleting all this so it's easier for us to see. Save that, refresh, nothing's going to happen. Awesome. Okay, so first thing, something that's happening a lot now that I've been noticing is how it creates this weird spacing up at the top and on the left. That's kind of been the default lately. So to get rid of it, all you gotta do is do the star sign, the asterisk, open your curly braces. Also, be mindful of how you're organizing these curly braces and all your code, because it has to be easy for you to see what you're making correctly or if you're making mistakes. So having your what you're calling into play. So the asterisk is related to everything on the page. And open your curly braces, return, close curly braces. Have that as your organization. You can put spaces between them. It's free. Space is free, so use it. So I'm going to do margin space 0, 0, save. And now when I update, everything kind of shrunk and got closer together, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want that extra space that was given to me by default. I prefer to start from 0, margin 0, 0. So do that, and then we can get started. I'm going to give a background color of bisque, just something subtle. And then I can start coding my website. So I'm just going to stop talking, and I'm going to speed up this part of the video. I think that's enough. I had some trouble here with the navigation after I added the A visited. It wasn't doing the hover, so I'm going to do a quick research on that. Okay, so I think this has to do with the order that I've made my stuff. So I'll put the visited actually before the hover. So this is another example of how cascading style sheets work, because I do want my hover to take precedent over the visited. So let's see if that worked. So I'm gonna do that. There you go. Now that worked. So when you do things in that order, it works. So that's beautiful. All right, so I hope you had fun. This is a very basic website. Don't forget that Grid by Example has templates and patterns that you can use to create a simple website that's not going to be too different than what I did here today. All right, so I hope these tips have helped you and clarified some of your questions. And as always, if you need anything, email me, text me at that number that I never remember. And also now I have a doodle poll going for you to schedule time with me. All right.